Okay, so the syllabus video got cut off a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. If you watch the syllabus video, I didn't go over the tutorials or the fall syllabus attachment, and I'm not going to. If you need help with doing stuff with like posting videos, when you get to that point, you can look at the tutorials and do that. So this is a required video to watch because it does talk about like the main portion of the course. And the first portion I'm going to go over is the discussion. So I clicked on syllabus and then I clicked on course assignments and grading, as you can see up here, and I'm going to discussion. Okay, so let's look at the discussion portion of the course, and this is something I'm going to read a little bit to you. I know that's kind of boring, but I'm going to. Each unit covers 2 to 3 new problem-solving strategies corresponding to 2 to 3 chapters in the text. Each chapter will include a reading assignment, a video example, and 4 to 5 problems from the text for you to attempt. Now notice it does say attempt. I still think about it as completing the problem to the best of your ability, okay? You have to attempt all the problems assigned initially, not just the ones that you're going to be assigned in the discussion, which you'll see in a second what that means. Attempting all problems helps you engage in the discussions better. So everyone is going to be required to do all the problems. However, you're going to be posting about those problems in different ways, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. So just be aware that if there's a problem assigned for a unit, you must do all those problems. I want to be clear that you're not going to necessarily be taught any new mathematics in this course. The problem solving may be new, but the mathematics probably will not be new. You're going to have to use your prior knowledge from all your prerequisites for this course, modeling, algebra, geometry, probability, logic, to solve and discuss fictional and real-world math problems, puzzles, etc., using strategies discussed in the text. So if I'm requiring you to solve a problem in, let's say, chapter 1, and it says you need to draw a diagram, you have to solve the problem using that strategy. Okay, so let's just be clear. The whole point is to try to figure out different ways to do the problem. We all know there's not one way to do a problem, and you need to hone in on that so when you have your students in the future, you can maybe recognize what type of problem solving works for them and coach them through it. You're expected to actively seek assistance when you do not have prior knowledge needed. So there may be something maybe you haven't taken modeling, or you're taking it right now. So you need to make sure that you ask for help. You also must follow the assistance rules for the discussion given below. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, so that's the discussion topics, discussion thread participation. So this is how it works. Okay. You're going to click on a unit, and I'm going to do that in a second and show you. You will see a discussion, and there will be 15 discussion threads based on topics for that unit. These threads will be numbered E star and 1 to 14. You are also required to participate in all those threads, but in different ways. So here's the thing that you have to understand. There's an initial post. So within each unit, in a minute you'll see it, you will either be assigned even or odd numbered threads for your initial posts. Okay? Thread assignments are set up so that each student gets a first level set A problem to solve from each chapter to try that new problem solving strategy. Either a harder set A problem or a set B problem to solve from each chapter, and connection questions, either connecting to a teaching standard, history, or other teaching thoughts. Initial posts are moderated, which means that you will not be able to see your classmates' posts until after the initial post deadline. These serve as 2 purposes. Not seeing your peers' work first encourages originality and multiple perspectives. And 2, forces students to wait until the instructor has provided answers and general feedback prior to the students giving feedback to their peers so that you can give a better feedback. So again, the first thing you're going to be required to do is an initial post, which is basically directed at a certain problem, and within that form, it'll tell you how to do it. I'll show you that in a second. Then there's the peer feedback. If you're assigned to respond to odd number threads for your initial post, then you're required to respond to even number threads for peer feedback posting. And that's why it's important for you to do all the problems. Because in one aspect you may be presenting the problem, and one aspect you may be responding to the problem. This results in everyone interacting at all topics and threads in the discussion forum for each unit. Finally, further thoughts. After initial post peer feedback deadlines, you will have an opportunity to respond to peer feedback, and you will receive respond to the peer feedback you received and interact in any of the discussion threads. Peer feedback posts are unmoderated, which means that you will be able to see the post immediately. You are required to give your peer feedback response to someone who has not already received peer feedback response whenever possible, so that everyone gets peer feedback response. So that means, like, let's say you log in and you see that somebody posted a problem that you really want to respond to, and there's already a response. You have to go to the person who doesn't have a response yet in order to respond. If you wait till the last minute to do this, you may have no options, or you may only have one option, and that means that you have to respond to that. So I encourage you to take advantage of this and get on there and do your feedback as soon as you can, so you can get more options and more availability to yourself. But again, I'll be looking at the discussion board, and if I see somebody who has no response and 3 people have responded, I'm going to delete the 2 people who responded to a certain problem, and you will not get credit for that if you have not already looked at somebody's problem that doesn't have a response. Within 48 hours after the peer feedback deadline, you will see preliminary scores for your participation in the unit discussion of your grade. You will then have the opportunity to increase the score with further thoughts posted. Further thoughts posts are unmoderated, which means that you will be able to see the post immediately. Further thoughts posts must be made after the peer feedback deadline, except in the everyone thread. Any posts made prior to this deadline will not be counted as further thoughts post. And finally, we have E. Each unit, there will be one thread labeled E for everyone. Everyone is required to post an initial post in this thread for every unit and interact with their peers in this thread throughout the unit. This thread is typically used for non-text-based discussions, such as introductions, thoughts about the class so far, hints, tips, etc. Responses to peers in this thread will count towards further thought points, but can be made at any time after the initial posts are moderated. See unit discussion rubrics for expectations. So there's also a rubric that's assigned. See course scheduling for posting deadlines, and always review the unit's discussion rubric for specific expectations and examples. Now, the course schedule was in the syllabus, so if you have not already looked at that, make sure you look at that, maybe copy it down and put it somewhere else. Important to know that students will not have the ability to edit or delete their own posts or any others. This is your best interest, because if you were to delete a post by accident, it would be gone forever with no evidence you completed the post. Also, if a student is able to edit a post, then the date submitted would change to the new revised date. If this past post deadline, the instructor has no evidence the original deadline was met, and your post will be counted late. So that's the reason why you're not allowed to do that. The instructor can edit and delete any posts, but only deleted posts when warranted. Bad etiquette, bad netiquette, duplicate posts, posting wrong area and thread, or by student's request. All right, all discussions you want to think about it as the SMART, okay? S, be specific, post is clear, organized, does not require assumptions by the reader or additional information. You have to explain. Meaningful, post is significant and relevant, addressing the questions that asked. Appropriate, post is respectful and allows access to all without the need of opening attachments, using pictures, diagrams, and videos when appropriate. Proper etiquette is followed. So, when you're writing a post, unless a video is required, you may not want to put a video on there as part of your explanation. And the reason why is because it may not be easy for everyone to access that video, or they could be having an issue with their player or something like that. So I want you to be aware of the fact that you have to try to explain things as simple as you can, but as specific and meaningful like the previous two. I'm not against you attaching things, but you have to be aware of the fact that it has to be able to be accessible. So if you're worried about it, you can always email me. The first unit, there'll be some leniency because we're getting used to it. You probably will get a warning if it's hard, and I won't, deduct points or delete your post, but I will keep you posted if I feel like there's something that's really hard. Reasoned. Post is well thought out and statements are justified. When you go to post, this should not be your first draft, okay? Just be aware of that. It should be your second, third, fourth draft. Thoughtful. Posts should show reflective consideration. Assistant rules for the discussion. Please take a minute to read this. I'm not going to spend the video reading this. Early rewards, late penalties. I want to make sure it's clear even though it's in print, okay? You get an early reward for posting by Sunday evening. You will get late penalties if you are late. Please read this. That's the end of this video.